was such a great adventure to work for this exhibition. We have started like 3 years ago, and we have collected a great number of works, both from private and public collections, and we are very happy about the exhibition. And this is a second great moment to share with the public and scholars. And yes, working on the same subjects for over 30 years doesn't mean that you don't learn every single day something new, that you discover something, that you notice something that you didn't before. And of course, one of the aspects that were not studied enough 30 years ago or 20 years ago or even 10 years ago were all the aspects about techniques, diagnostics, and also workshop practices. So from this point of view, there are many additional elements also for Strozzi and for the workshops. So this is a great opportunity. And the way I work is usually trying to combine the connoisseurship, which is not over, together with archival research, because documents are very, very important if they are connected with the works. And of course now, with this third, let's say, path, which is diagnostics, we can really cross all the information, and we will gain much more knowledge about the painters, and this is the case for Strozzi also. And so I just pointed out several documents that are very, very important for these aspects. So for the aspects of the workshop and the technique. In 2019, we had an exhibition very important for the research that came before. It's about 2.5 years of archival research. I worked on 30 archives, private, parish, or public archives. And the new biography completely changed. And among these hundreds of documents, there are several that are very important to enter Strozzi's workshop. In 1610, so he was born in 1582, okay? So 1610 is a quite early date. He was already well-trained, and he started working outside the convent. There is a document very important, because at that moment he was escaped. He was a Capuchin, and he escaped the convent. He wanted to be a painter. Since he was a religious clergyman, he could not sell paintings, but he could not have a workshop. He could not paint outside the house. And we know this because of the documents. And that means that he did all this. So at a certain point, several times in his life, he's escaping. So in 1609, he escapes the convent and he goes to Milano. And we found these great documents where the friar, the boss, his sort of protector in the convent, is writing him a letter to Milano, so we know where he was staying. But especially the friar, he said, "I'm sending you ancone e colori." So I'm sending you, yes, I promise you, I will send you. Do not worry, I will send you like canvases and colors and the other paintings. So probably he escaped, he left something in the convent, and the protector managed to send material to paint. And in 1617, we have an inventory of colors with quotation of a workshop in Genova at the same moment. And it's very interesting because we can quote and see at that time when he was working the price of the colors, the sort of colors that were available, and similar information that, as I say, all crossed together will give a good view of the situation. The trial between Strozzi and the church, because he wanted to escape the convent, he wanted to be able to sell and to teach, to have pupils, and this was not allowed. So we have many documents, this very important trail, and in many times we have giovani, so pupils, young people, that are called to be to testify. And of course, this was not allowed to have pupils, and there are different ways of describing, and it's always very difficult for us to see, to distinguish between pupils, students, assistants, and collaborators, and whatever. There is a very important document we have in Genova in 1630, where the painters have been, has to pay, like all other citizens, divided into categories, they have to pay an extra tax. And depending on the amount, how much they pay, you can understand if pupils is more than assistant, more than giovani, and this is very useful. In any case, already in 1630, we start to get to know three names of Strozzi's workshop in Genova. Names that do not have a painting, not one single work connected. So this is the problem. Documents give us names, and then we have works without names. And we have, in the time, we have to cross this information. Sometimes it happens, but we have to proceed with, investigations and, of course, hypotheses like the one I'm proposing today. So in 1632, another document about material of his work. So he was escaping, going from Genova to Venice, and there is a document where he is worried about the forziere, which means the cassaforte, how do you say, the case, where all the drawings were kept, like a treasure. And so he was worried about this. This means that, as we can presume, there were drawings that were kept in the workshop for years because they could be as models. And of course, this means that you can have the same models even in later works, not just at the beginning. So the comparisons between Genoese and Venetian works for Strozzi has to be done much more dealing with the kind of colors and the technique more than the models, because we know that later paintings have the same identical composition of earlier. Another, for Venice, we have not so many documents because I'm not Venetian and I didn't actually investigate. Probably that's what I mean. It's a joke, but I mean, I could do a lot of research in Genova, like many years, and the same has not been done in Venice. That means that if there is somebody among you that say, go to Venice, yes, I will tell you what to look for, but I'm sure there's much, much more. And so we have just a few information, but we have a very good, interesting, and important document. At least 1639, there's a document that says, that mention a copy of the portrait by Barbara Strozzi, but meant to be by the same painter. So we have proofs given by works by the paintings themselves that Strozzi made more than one version himself. And we have also the confirmation in documents. So if you see two versions for Strozzi, this doesn't mean that one only is by Strozzi. There are many cases of replicas by Strozzi and, of course, other copies by other pupils. And for the most important commissions, such as portraits, it's quite typical to have two versions. And we have some cases that we can document for Strozzi. So the Doge Francesco Rizio, two versions by Strozzi, 100% by Strozzi, because one was probably for the official side of the bishop, and the other one was for the family, for the house, for the other residential. The most important document among all is the 1644 inventory, when he died in Venice, so quite early, like 10 years after his escape to Venice, he died, and there is a very, very important document that was discovered by a Venetian researcher before the exhibition of 1995, so it was already published. But as I say, every time I go through this document, I read it again and connect the information. There are so many informations. You connect it with what you know at the time and what you know more and more. You always have something additional information. So the inventory is very interesting because the list of works are divided into groups. The first group, one group is old masters. So we know that in his workshop, the painter, the master, kept several paintings by old masters. So Veneetsias, Bordone, etc. Then there is a group of paintings that are by Strozzi. Others are tele preparate, just prepared canvases, and then copies after the master's works. About painters, who is working in the Venetian workshop. Going through the document, we know that there were many giovani without a name, young pupils, young scholars, at least young something. And then there were two Genoese, Bocciardo and Catto, are mentioned in the Genoese documents, are from Genova, and they joined the master after the escape that happened in 1632-33. Then there's something very interesting, because in Genova, as we know, Strozzi was used to work with Flemish. We had Rubens, we had the Van Dyck and Jan Roos, for example, all the time. But also in Venice, there were other northern, we have seen it before, arriving from both Flanders and German. We have these names, and we actually don't know who these people are. If you have any ideas, we have Sloof, maybe Flemish, Giovanni Omo de Ferro, and the document, Eismann, and the document says from München, okay? This is in the document. Then we have Francesco Durello. I think it's something about Dürer. So durello, so it means a little dura. And why do I say it is German or in the follow? Because of the sort of paintings connected with his name. Landscapes and works on copper, which are quite unusual, and none of the other masters, none of the other painters are this. Then we have Taddeo Pino from Bormio, Valtellina. So Valtellina is in the north of Italy, so in the border between the north. And then Ermanno Stroiffi from Padua. There is so much to say in addition to what we know about Ermanno Stroiffi, and I will say something. But actually, before getting to know him better, we have a lot of material because he is independent after Strozzi's death. It is better to have an idea of the context. And so about workshop practice, we have mentioned the tele preparate. And we now know very well, and Michela will talk about this later, so we are working together, and the information Michela Fasce with the diagnostic data and myself, we work together, and having a check of the technique, our dating, Garetta, this is good news, is corresponding to the kind of layers, colors, and materials. Apart from one, I will tell you which one. So this reddish preparation is the color of the Venetian tele preparate. So in Venice, the tele, the canvases, were prepared with this reddish. This is a very interesting sketch. And you can have an idea of the preparation of the canvases. This is our Venetians. This is Stroiffi in the exhibition. And you see this very typical color, which both Strozzi and Stroiffi used in a risparmio. Sometimes it was not covered, and it functioned as a background. Then, in the document, we have, among the tele preparate, so the prepared canvases, we have something abbozzato, just abbozzato, just a sketchy, something with a sketch on it. In these years, I found this canvas, you see the back of it, which is a painting not by Strozzi, it's a copy after the original, now in Baltimore. This is a very good quality workshop replica, workshop copy. When they called me to study this, it was in prima tela, never relined, so it was visible very well. Do you see it? Yes, the sketches, black, thick and very quick brush strokes that probably gave sort of the structure for the composition, both from Strozzi and from the pupils. So probably he made some idea, and then the pupils could follow these lines to make the composition. Strozzi didn't like to make drawings. He never made drawings. You don't find under drawing in Strozzi's because he's too fast, too quickly in painting. Those lines, you also see them in the workshop works, in the workshop paintings. We have the example is the starting point from our exhibition, the concert, which is in the last room of the exhibition, the starting point for this project, so the painting in Tallinn, where you see many black lines, Not real drawings, but sort of contorni. You see, very clearly visible outline. Exactly, thank you. But, as I say, it's not only outlined for the workshop, for the pupils, or by the pupils. These outlines were for Strozzi himself. In this case that I've shown you, you see similar outlines with the black lines, you see? In this case, also, this is a very beautiful sketch that you will see. It's 100% Strozzi, and you see some lines, which is not proper drawing. It's just the idea of how to make the composition. So these are never, the contours are always very open in Strozzi. And you have other versions. So this means that, again, a proof that Strozzi makes replicas. This is by Strozzi in Venice. This is by Strozzi. And then there are other replicas. And this was the study for a large altarpiece that was sent to Lucerna, and it was discovered quite recently from Venice to Lucerna. So, among the non finito, the unfinished, we have something that have been just started, just beginning, or maybe just the head, the abbozzatura, the sketch of a female. So what can we argue? What can we understand? That for sure he was working at the same time on many paintings, on several paintings at the same time, and that probably others were working on the same painting, which is quite logical, but it's good that documents are confirming what we can suppose. And then, of course, the final touches. Ritoccato tutto dal signor Bernardo. The whole painting has been retouched by the master. So that means that the pupil make the painting, probably copying after the model, and then before exiting the workshop, the atelier, before being sold, the master added some final touches, which is quite typical from the point of view of the market needs. This is the case of our concert that you can tell. It's by a pupil, we don't know which one yet, but also the final touches are quite visible. There are very nice brush strokes where you can recognize a very typical Strozzi's brush strokes, so very free, a special movement. Then what else? We have a chiaroscuro, another aspect, very peculiar of the technique. And fortunately, we have paintings, chiaroscuro, still existing, and several in the list, in the inventory. So black and white. And most probably, those black and white images were for the devotional aims. So they were like replicas on small size. This is the case that we have, the painting you see. We have two versions of this. And probably the chiaroscuro was not because it was unfinished. It was just because it was a poor, less expensive, we would say today minimal work. Also because the Capuchin, of course, were Franciscan, didn't They didn't have to spend money to be rich. So this is also logical. So no colors, very minimal. But also chiaroscuro by Strozzi about the pittura, for example, the allegory of painting, which is displayed. We don't know, it's lost at the moment, the chiaroscuro for the pittura should be the model for this painting that we know. It's still to be discovered. So this means that it could also be kept, the chiaroscuro, as a model instead in the workshop. Instead of a drawing or a real sketch, this other technique of the chiaroscuro could also be one aspect. In the chiaroscuro, with the chiaroscuro technique, so let's say black and white, there were also sketches in black and white. So this is another, you see how many detailed sort of process. And for example, in this case, Strozzi's abbozzatura, simply abbozzato by Strozzi, by the master. And then in the inventory, we have copies tratte dalle pitture di Strozzi, so copies after originals by the master. Both, so these copies were produced both by whoever, young scholars, young pupils, and by other names. And Stroiffi is one of the most, one of the names that records more for the copies. So he was a sort of specialist as a copyist, also because you can tell from the work we have displayed, is unpublished, this painting here, which is copied after the Strozzi's Budapest Annunciation. You can see that it's a very fresh copy. So it's not, probably he was chosen as the most popular copyist because of the quality of the copies. So a sort of copy that must not sound as a copy, so must be fresh. And you can tell from the original you have in the exhibition. About copies, it's very interesting, the case of the still life. Most of the paintings listed in the copy section are still life painting. That means that the market wanted still life at the moment, and we have still lives without a name, but also some names connected with still life paintings. Francesco Durello, Clemente Bucciardo, Ermanno Stroiffi. So not only one specialist for still life, but more than one. A sort of, really a workshop, a sort of place where everybody is adding something to a large production. And from the description and from the numbers, you can tell that some of them, so more than one, were good in doing still life, but some of them was a sort of specialist. So the documents tell us that we have more than one specialist for still life, and in fact, also paintings, we have more than one. So Strozzi is painting still life himself from the beginning till the very end of his career. I have the chance to see this painting that used to be in the San Francisco. It was on the market, and it was a very important document for me because, as you can say, I had the chance to make photos, and you see traces of the spolvero. So that means that for sure, for copying the still life, at least, they used the technique of the spolvero. You see very well here. In the exhibition, you can compare yourself the quality and the style of two still life. One is by Strozzi, 100% on the left, and the other one is not. And if you get closer, to this second one, you see that there are much more traces of drawings and contours, and it's all more flat and close, let's say, compared to this, as you see, very smooth. These are Strozzi's early flowers in early compositions. This is in Genova in the 1617, 18, something like that. Okay, so these are details. And these details are very easy to compare in the same room for example, from the leaves you have in the San Giovanni, San John the Baptist. So you see that there are lines, but never a drawing. It's just a line made by paint, made after, over, just to, is this one probably the, Nico, is this one? Okay, yes, I knew. This is a masterpiece, and now, today, I know where it is, you see? What's important to be here today? I need, okay, I feel something Nordic, something colder, something, I don't know. So the idea is, could this be Francesco Durello, so the Nordic specialist of Strozzi in Strozzi's workshop? This is a big question mark, but if you don't start putting question marks, you don't get anywhere. So this is a question mark for me and for everybody who wants to deal with this. Ermanno Stroiffi, for sure, we know he also made still life, not only thanks to the document, but also because if you go and see in the exhibition, the masterpiece by Stroiffi that we have from La Spezia, there's a very nice still life part, and it has a specific way of painting, so we have a starting point for Stroiffi's still life. Okay, these are some, you know, when I say fresh copies, means that it's not drawing, he makes changes, very nice. Okay, so this is the point. This is the starting point for next research and next weeks, next months or years. We have at least 4 painters that are specialists for still life in Venetian Strozzi's workshop. So we have Stroiffi, for sure. We have Strozzi, and then at least 2 other masters, or probably 1 master and the general pupil that are simply copying. So that's it. Thank you.